Hey guys, it's Steve from Financial Python back with another technical analysis video. Today I'm going to show you how to calculate and plot when a stock price crosses above or below a simple moving average. And for those of you not familiar with simple moving average, you can just Google it. It's the average price of a stock over a specified period. So they're used in different places in technical analysis. Like some people use them for trend reversal, trend identification, confirmation, that sort of thing. So yeah, obviously up to you how you want to use it. But today we're going to talk about how to calculate it, and again, how to plot when a stock crosses above or below it. So we're going to do that in 4 steps. We're going to download stock historical data. We're going to calculate the simple moving average. Then we're going to determine when the stock price crosses above or below the simple moving average. And then finally, we're going to plot those with Plotly, which is a good Python charting library. If you guys aren't familiar, just check it out. It's pretty powerful. So as always, the first thing we're going to do is just import the packages that we're going to use. So we're going to use yfinance to download data. We're going to use pandas for the data frame. We're going to use, as I mentioned, Plotly. We're going to use different sub packages in Plotly. We're going to use the graph objects package as go. And from the subplots package, we're going to import make subplots. Okay, and I believe Colab has all of these installed. I'm just going to do this with Colab just for this demo, but if you don't have these, you may need to install these locally. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is just download stock data from Yahoo yfinance. I like yfinance, it's free, it's easy. So I guess we'll just use Apple today, and we'll get the 1 day interval. So the 1 day interval of prices. The concepts that we're talking about today, though, they're going to hold true for any time frame. So if you want to do this on like the 5 minute, the 1 hour, whatever the case, you can still calculate moving averages from that data as well. So it looks like that downloaded. That's good. I'm just going to print that. And we can see, okay, so we have data from 2020 to 2023, so that's good. And we're really just going to be working with the close column today, but we do have these other values. So we get rid of that. The next thing, as I mentioned, so, just to follow along where we're at. So we're done with step one. We downloaded the historical stock price data. Then we're going to actually calculate the moving average. And to do that, we're just going to create a new column in the data frame to store it. So we'll create a column SMA 50. Obviously, that's the one we're using today, but you can use different ones however you see fit. Again, we're just going to take the values from the close column, and we're going to use this pandas rolling method, which basically is going to add up these values. As you can see, it provides rolling window calculations. You can read more about that in the pandas documentation. But this is the method that's going to add up those values for the specific time period that we give it. Again, we're calculating the SMA 50, so we're going to say we want a window of 50 data frame indexes. And, if we were doing the 200, we would change its value to 200, but we're using 50, so we use 50. And we want the mean of those, again, which is going to be the average of the last 50. So that's good. Calculated that. So let's print the data frame one more time. And we see, okay, so we see we have this column. As you can see in the first couple of values, we're getting not a number. The reason is because, again, we're calculating the SMA 50, so we need to have at least 50 values passed in from the data frame. So for the first 50 rows, we're not going to have any data there. But you can see now it's 185, whereas the stock price is currently in the 170s. This is Apple's been on a little bit of a downslope, as you can see based on that data. So let's continue to move forward. Oops, I don't want it there. I want a new one after this. There we go. Delete that guy. Okay, so done with step two. Step three, determine when a stock price crosses above or below the SMA. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So what we basically need to do is create another column, and I'll just create that. We'll call it crossings. And basically what this is going to store is the places in the database where a crossover happens. So we're going to initially just set all the values to 0. But the idea is that we want to store here, different numbers when a cross happens. So we'll say if a cross below happens, we'll store -1. And if a cross above happens, we'll store 1. This way we have differentiation in the data frame of when a cross is happening. So in order to capture that, we're going to create new variables. We'll call one cross above indexes. Like essentially we want to find all the indexes in the data frame where a cross above happens. And in order to do that, we're going to have to obviously look at the data. We're going to have to look at the close price, and we're going to say, okay, is the close price above the SMA 50 currently? And where is it? And, there we go. And is, wow, I can't type anything today. And is the stock data, is the close price when we shift 1 day in the future. So using the shift method here and adding a -1, that's going to say, go 1 more row in the data frame. I know the -1 is kind of confusing there. It should be, I feel like it should be +1, but it's not. So, yeah, is the stock price 1 day in the future? Is it now below the SMA 50? And that for the day in the future as well. Okay, so again, is the stock price, is it currently above the SMA 50? And is it tomorrow below the SMA 50? And if that's the case, we're going to say, I'm sorry, I have cross above indexes, but I meant to say cross below. Sorry about that. So this is a cross below. If it's above and, today and tomorrow it's below, then it's a cross below. And opposite is a cross above. So we're going to say when the price is below the SMA 50, and then 1 day in the future, is it now above, right? And then what we're going to do, so then, what these values are going to hold, you know what, let me print and I can just show you one. Let me just print one of them. What did I mess up here? Sift, whoops, I'm not doing good typing. There we go. Okay, so you can see like what this is holding is different days. Okay, I mean it's not showing me the true, but it's going to be true or false in based on whether or not the value, whether or not this holds true. Like, so it's saying set this value to true for the rows where the price is above and then crosses below. Set this value to true for the price where the price is below and then crosses above. And printing in Colab always cuts off rows here, so not the best way to see it, but let's move on and we'll see it on the chart. So from there, I want to take the location in the database, in the data frame where these values are. So the cross below indexes, and I'm going to take the crossings column, right? And I'm going to set that column in the data frame to -1. So again, at the places where a cross below index happens, we're going to set the crossings value to -1. And at the place, what is this? Oh, whoops! I have the wrong types of brackets here. There we go. I have parentheses. It should be brackets. Not typing good today. Okay. When there's a cross above, we want to set the value to 1, right? Okay, and we're adding, that into the data frame. So let's, into the data frame. I did say that correctly. So the idea, again, we're going to calculate all the places in the data frame where the close is above the SMA 50 and then changes to be below it, and all the places where the close was below and then changes to be above. For the below places, we're going to set the value of the crossings column to -1. For the above places, we're going to set the value of the crossings column to 1. I think we can print this, but so we can see we have the crossing columns. This is kind of what I feared, that it's only going to show me a certain number of rows. Let's look. Maybe we can see does it print 100? How many will it print here? Nope. 50? Let's check. Okay, so we see we have some of these crosses happening. So we see on 8.3, we have a -1. So 0, again, represents nothing happened. There was no cross. The lines were just moving, parallel or whatever the case. But when a cross happens, so here the price would have crossed below, and you can kind of see that. Okay, so you see it on the next day. So again, like, so you can see, like, in the close price of the following day. I mean, I guess we can put the value here instead. Maybe that would make more sense to put the value on this row. And just to do that, I mean, you know, when we plot it on the chart, it's going to be just fine. But I think the best way to do that is to check if we wanted to check if this value, if the row before was above. I'm just going to move our shifts here. I think it might be a little bit more clear. And the current one is below. And same thing, I'm going to say, you know, let's shift back a row. And was it, oops. You know, when we shift back a row, was the price above yesterday, and is it below today? And I think, you know, that actually makes more sense than what I was just doing there. So, yeah, I think this should, I don't think I should need to recalculate anything else. Let me do this because I'm just initially setting that crossing column to 0 and then redoing this. So let's look at that one more time. Okay, and yeah, this looks better. So you can see here the close price was 190. The simple moving average 186. Now the close price was 181, and the simple moving average was 187. So that's a cross below. As we go here, we see a cross above happen. So the price was 184, moving average 186.5. Then we go to 187, still 186.5. So now we have a cross above. We can see, you know, we went back and forth a little bit there, but that looks good. So, scrolling back up, we see we did this part. We determined when the stock price crosses above or below the simple moving average. So the next thing to do from there is to plot it. So as I mentioned, we're going to use Plotly. So we'll say use Plotly to plot. Simple, right? So to do that, we're going to create a variable of type make subplots. That was the package that we imported. It's just going to be one row, one column. This is specifying you know, how the chart looks. I'll show you when it prints out, but basically it's like specifying the like axes of the chart. And speaking of, we're going to say shared x-axis equals true because both of the values, the x-axis is going to be the index of the data frame. So, you know, it's going to be a shared value. And what we're going to put on that chart, we're going to add the stock price line and SMA line, right? 50 lines to the chart. And to do that, we'll create new variables for stock price line, go.scatter. You know what? I think I'm actually just going to copy and paste this and then read through it because I think it might be easier than typing it out, just explaining as I'm doing that. So let me do this. I'm gonna actually type it in and then I'm gonna fast forward and I'm going to explain it. All right, 1 second. Okay, guys, welcome back. Sorry, as you saw, I wasn't typing great today, and I had a lot to type, so I figured let me type it and then I'll explain it. I am going to put this in a gist that you can get off of GitHub. If you you know, if you want to just download it, so you don't have to, you know, type as I'm typing. But what we did here is we're adding two new variables we're adding the stock price and the SMA 50, two different lines. So we're creating, you know, two different instances of this go.scatter. Again, the x-axis is just going to be the index of the data frame, but the y is what's going to change. We're going to, you know, use the close and the SMA 50 on two different lines. We're specifying the mode of the scatter. We can give it a name. I can call this whatever I want. If I want to call it Apple price or whatever, I'm just putting stock price for now and make it a little more dynamic. Then we can give some parameters to the line property. In this case, I'm just going to specify the color just so we can differentiate the two. You know, I'm using blue and orange. You can use whatever you want. Then from there, what we want to do is specify the crossings. Again, like, so this, you know what, let me actually just show that real quick. Did I comment those? Well, it does let me, so that's good. So yeah, so if I run this, you can see that's plotting the two lines, which is great, but we also want to plot the crossing. So we see a crossing here, a crossing here, a crossing here, you know, like that's something we want to plot as well. So in order to do that, we're going to add these other scatter elements here. They are going to be different mode. The mode is going to be markers in this case. And for across below, I'm going to say, I want a red and specify a size. You can make it whatever you want. This, just trying to make it clear. But basically what we're going to plot there is we're going to plot the indexes only where the crossings is -1. Again, if we go back up to the data frame, do I still have that printed? No, I don't. Oh, I could though real quick. You see, we want to only print the spots where it's -1. Like we don't want to print all these rows, right? We just want a marker where it's -1 and 1. So that's what we're specifying in this cross above and cross below variables that we have. Like the cross above on the x-axis, we just want the values where the crossings is 1. But for the y, we want it to actually plot at that point. So I'm saying I, plot it at the point of the SMA 50 because I don't want it to like plot down here where the crossing happens. I want it to plot right here, right? I could just as easily put in the close price, not going to matter, because the idea is these are basically the same value where the cross happens. But anyway, cross above, so I'm going to make green, indicate that's bullish. Cross below is I'm going to make red, indicate that's bearish. But yeah, and I can, again, name these whatever I want as well. I went with the price crosses above SMA 50 and below SMA 50. Not very original. I could pass in a dynamic variable for that if I want to, but we're going to go with that. And then this is kind of just some housekeeping stuff, customizing the layout. Again, we're passing in the title. We're saying, like what's on the x-axis, the dates, the y-axis is the price, whether or not to show the legend. We're going to show what these things represent. So let's run that now that we have these other variables. And boom. And this is exactly what we're looking for. Obviously, we have a little bit of junk happening in here. But here we have the price crossing below, and we have a red dot. Here we have the price crossing back above. We have a green dot. Some junk happening in here, but then we cross up again, cross below, and as you can see, all of these values are printed on the chart exactly what we wanted to. So just to recap what we did there, we downloaded historical data from yfinance. That should be pretty standard at this point. I've gone through a few videos doing that. Pandas we're familiar with as well. But, the two things that I wanted to focus on was, calculating a simple moving average, which is very simple. As you can see here, one line of code, we're getting an SMA 50. If you want to calculate different SMAs on different time frames, you could do that. From there, we're determining when these crossings happen, which is just a little bit of Pandas data frame magic. So these are all, we're not using this shift and rolling. Like these are all just like standard Pandas methods that we're using there. And then from there, we're using Plotly, which is a Python, again, charting, graphing library. Very powerful, a lot of things you can do with here, as you can see with, and it is, it's a little interactive as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to show today. Hopefully you guys learned something, and I'll see you next time. Bye.